How are you now? And welcome. Thank you for joining us. My name is James Whelan, occasional talking head for this, smallcaps.com.au. And today I'm joined by Dr. Andrea Marsland-Smith, CEO of Alligator Energy, stock code AGE. Alligator Energy is advancing the Samphire Uranium project in South Australia, and ISR. We'll get to what those. We've got a few TLAs coming up today, so it's okay. We've got an ISR amenable uranium development that has just completed construction of its pilot plant and is heading into a critical FRT, or field recovery trial. The company has also sharpened its strategy, strengthened its balance sheet, and is positioning itself as Australia's next ISR uranium producer. I do apologise. I've been told by the crew here that I am dressed like a used car salesman who's been brought out to a golf day to stand next to the drink stand and hand out his business card. So the sort of culture and humour that we've got going on down here in smallcaps.com.au. But Andrea, thank you for joining us today. How are you now?
Yeah, happy Friday. Thanks, James.
We're going to get there. We're going to get there in one piece, so it doesn't matter how we get there. But look, an incredible start to the year for you all, and some amazing releases that have come out, all off the back of the news and the updates that you had at the top of the year. I tell you what, if 2026 finishes the way that it started, then this will be a hell of a story. First off, why don't you just give us a run through, a high-level overview of Alligator Energy, the corporate and the key focus areas that you've got?
Yeah, no problem. At our core, we're a uranium-focused explorer and we're transitioning to being a developer. So that's essentially where we're at right now. Our flagship project is the Samphire in-situ recovery project in South Australia near Whyalla, and we're positioning ourselves to be Australia's next uranium mine. So over the last 3 years, we've been defining a good resource. We have around 18 million pounds in the asset base at the moment. Undertook a scoping study in December 2023. It shows robust ISR economics at $75 a pound. So that's what it was cast at that time. We have built a pilot plant. It's constructed and ready to undertake a field recovery trial in the field in the coming months. We have significant upside also to increase the resource, where 70% of the channels across our entire project area are untested. So this is uranium in paleo channels buried around 80 to 120 metres below the surface. So, again, 70% of those untested by any drill hole. At Big Lake project, also in South Australia, in the northeast of the state, we had a discovery back there in 2024 in August. This area is in an area called the Lake Eyre Basin, which overlies the Cooper oil and gas basin. Look, it's early stage, but we're targeting what we hope could be the next ISR uranium province in South Australia, and we're planning to be on ground later this quarter with a drilling program to follow up that discovery back in August 24.
Okay. That's a great update. Let's just have a little bit of a step back and talk about it. One of my gifts is explaining extraordinarily complex things as if I'm talking to a 4-year-old, and all credit to our audiences who are a little bit more intelligent than I am, absolutely. But ISR, in-situ recovery, that's putting something into the ground and letting something seep up. I mean, that's a really oversimplification of that, but it does leave a lot of the ore sitting in the ground, so that's what we say when we say ISR. So that's in-situ recovery. And an FRT, the field recovery test, is a testing to see, and we'll get to that in a second, but testing to see how good that ISR works or how much it gets out.
Yeah.
That's a good way of putting it for this one? Okay.
Yeah, ISR is also known as solution mining. So there's no open cut, there's no underground. We send our reagents down where the ore body is and bring it up to the surface in a solution and then process it in the back end of the plant. So it's
Perfect.
a simple process: pipes, pumps, and water.
All right, it's a lot better than open cutting, everything like that, and going into that messy situations. Is that, among other things, what you think positions Alligator for success?
We've got a team here that clearly is an ISR specific team. So in terms of our success, we see it's a combination of like geology, jurisdiction, and team. So in terms of geology, our target's clearly ISR amenable uranium deposits like the Samphire uranium deposit and the Big Lake project, because it aligns with our in-house expertise, specifically focusing in on South Australia, which then brings me to jurisdiction, South Australia. So there's 5 uranium mines currently operating in South Australia, and 4 of them are in-situ recovery projects. So we have a robust regulatory framework that permits all of these mines, and Alligator's got support from all levels of government to progress the Samphire project specifically to development. Again, bringing us to hopefully positioning ourselves to be the next uranium mine to be permitted in South Australia. Team, we've been working over the last few years to develop an ISR specialist team, and that started with me 3 and a bit years ago. I have around 20 years experience in ISR, and specifically over the last year now we've built the team to where we can execute the field recovery trial. We have over 65 years, 9 years of ISR technical experience from exploration, regulatory, permitting and operations. I see these as the essentials for Alligator's success.
That does make a lot of sense now, and also it's funny. I talk to a lot of CEOs in this job, and especially the higher level people at companies, and when they get through a big thing, you can often see there's a few scars and a few a few days looks about getting through, sort of going through some sort of a war. You've just completed the pilot plant for Samphire on schedule and under budget, which is great. What are the key? Everyone's got a few key takeaways, a few wars, battle scars, or anything. What are the key takeaways from the build of that pilot plant?
Yeah, well, from the build, we're very proud that completion on budget and on time was a fantastic outcome for us. And really that's a testament in terms of takeaways, it's a testament that we had the right team in place, and it requires strong planning and tight cost control. And we have a culture of accountability here. So, this is good grounding for us to carry the same momentum forward into the next major milestones we've got in front of us, particularly now executing the field recovery trial, our planned exploration and mineral resource extension, and the bankable feasibility study that we're intending to undertake this year, and then leading into our mining lease applications. So really, in short, the pilot plant build is a clear demonstration that, to me, and I hope to investors, that we can execute efficiently, manage risk and deliver the value, which really is exactly what matters when we move into the next phase of growth of the company.
Well, and that does sound good. It's good to put those sorts of things. It's in the past to be able to look forward to. That's it. Ticked another box. Let's talk about that bankable feasibility study, which is due for early 2027. So, how does the field recovery testing? How do those results feed into that BFS?
Yeah. So we've undertaken all of the bench scale lab work, necessary to get us into what now we need to do some testing on a larger scale. So this is why we're undertaking the field recovery trial. Trials like this are undertaken all around the world on these types of assets, and really it's to de-risk the project before heading into the full-scale mining situation. So the FRT for us is a major step forward in confirming the in-situ recovery ISR viability in real field conditions. So a very important step. From an economics perspective, it's critical for de-risking the key assumptions we've used in the scoping study in 2023, particularly around things like recoveries, reagent consumption, flow rates, operating costs, and the overall productivity. We also need to validate those assumptions because that's essential to strengthening our confidence in the project's economic case. As you said, the field recovery trials will also feed directly into that BFS, which is planned for conclusion in early 2027. And it overall will provide a higher confidence inputs that underpin the financial model and also our operating strategies. We also will refine and develop the plan, which will support the mining lease application, as I mentioned earlier.
Okay.
Ultimately, strong FRT results is a key milestone in de-risking Samphire and should support a meaningful re-rate by investors, we hope.
There's re-rating going on, I'm sure, about that one. Now, the FRT going into the BFS is another TLA for you. Your scoping study delivered an NPV of 200. We've got a few of these. Net present valuation of $257 million with low upfront capex. Now, how do you see those economics evolving as the new data comes to light?
Yeah. Well, obviously, look, the scoping was done in 2023, and it's natural to expect these numbers to evolve. Look, no doubt cost escalation since that time is in play, and but this has also been offset by the increase in the long-term uranium price from $75 a pound at which we did that study to $86 a pound today, and it's moving upwards. We expect the economics to further strengthen as we grow the mineral resource estimate as well via our planned aggressive drilling programs for 2026. And so we have overall confidence that the value proposition at Samphire can continue to improve, really.
Outstanding. So talking about staying focused and right-sizing, you divested your Northern Territory uranium assets for about, well, it wasn't about, it was $7.5 million. How has that sharpened Alligator's strategy and strengthened the balance sheet?
Yeah, as you point out, it has strengthened our balance sheet, and it provides additional flexibility to fund and accelerate our core work programs. So it's sharpened our strategy, no doubt, and has sent a clear message to the market that we're serious about our focus, namely Samphire and Big Lake. And so by simplifying that portfolio, we've aligned the capital, the people, the execution effort behind the projects that we believe offer the best pathway to value creation in the near term and the medium term for our shareholders.
Yeah. Now, so we've got $25 million sitting in cash in the bank and the additional 7.5 for the Northern Territory divestment coming in. That's all coming in, yes. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Sorry, Andrew. Now, how well funded are you near term for those programs at Samphire and Big Lake?
Yeah. Look, we are entering the new year with a strong balance sheet. So this allows us to stay focused on delivering the key value driving milestones, really. And particularly, again, at Samphire, we need to execute that FRT in the coming months. Ongoing technical work, obviously, to support the bankable feasibility study, executing that bankable feasibility study, and then further drilling to expand the mineral resource estimate at Samphire. We've also got the Big Lake project, where we're really enthusiastic to continue to advance exploration there with a drilling program currently in planning phase and be executed before the end of Q1 this year, commencing Q1 this year.
Yep.
Just to follow up on that discovery we had in 2024. So we're well funded. It means that we can maintain momentum and continue to de-risk both projects through the next phase of work without really being distracted by short-term funding issues or pressures.
Excellent. Now, you're planning an updated mineral resource estimate in this half of 2026. What should investors expect from that update? And I'm seeing that only 28% of the paleo channel system has been tested at Samphire. So how much room is there for future growth?
Yeah. So this is a big thing for 2026 for us. Look, investors should expect the mineral resource estimate update to be a meaningful step forward for the Samphire project. And look, we're confident that it will increase the current 18 million pound resource at Blackbush. We will include a maiden inferred resource for the Plumbush prospect, which is 5 kilometres to the south of Blackbush. And we see this as a satellite to the Blackbush deposit to increase the overall mining inventory that goes into the BFS. So in terms of growth, we see this substantial upside with what you mentioned, only 28% of the broader channel tested, and most of that drilling is focused around Blackbush. This highlights just how much room there is for future expansion, and it's reflected in our exploration target range that we published late 2023 of a potential range of another 14 to 75 million pounds to be realised in the region. So we're getting underway to unlocking that, and we're drilling aggressively this year with the clear objectives of continuing to grow that mineral resource base and build a larger, more robust mining inventory for that BFS to be released early next year.
Outstanding. That's right. Well, we just saw the President of the United States go to Davos and talk about, I'm going to build so many new reactors and I don't do the, but we also, and I think that anyone who's got a little bit of uranium investment did actually like that. We've got data centers needing more and more energy, and that base load that comes from nuclear power is absolutely a thing that people are really starting to understand. Even the biggest haters really coming around to it as well. I think there's an underplay, but the forecast for uranium demand is going to increase by 30% by 2030. I actually think that's underdone. How does that market backdrop influence Alligator Energy's development decisions?
Yeah, I agree with you with the underdone comment.
It's got to play it down, yeah.
But look, the uranium market backdrop is a very strong tailwind for our development decisions going forward now. And it's a perfect time to be advancing a project, particularly that has a realistic pathway to production towards the end of this decade. The appetite for uranium exposure is stronger than it ever was, stronger than it was a few years ago. And we're heading into tightening supply-demand balance, which speaks to the demand piece that you mentioned earlier in the questions. All of this is reflected now in the long-term uranium price, which has increased from around $80 a pound at the start of 2025 to approximately $86 a pound and currently moving upward. For reference, back in 2022, it was $40 a pound. So it's done a fair run in the last few years. So in Australia, I think it's highly relevant that uranium mining is permitted in South Australia, particularly when global capital is looking for jurisdictional certainty for investment. So the broader market environment is more supportive than it ever has been for quite some time, and it does reinforce our focus now on progressing Samphire and Big Lake with some momentum.
Absolutely. So, and you did mention South Australia. South Australia is seen as a tier 1 jurisdiction for ISR uranium. How important is that supportive regulatory environment for your progression?
Well, it's key, really. So, yes, South Australia has a proven regulatory framework. As I mentioned earlier, there's 5 uranium mines already permitted and operating in the state, 4 of which are ISR assets. So this gives us regulatory certainty, and it really matters because it gives us also jurisdictional certainty and a clear pathway to progress. Look, it's also a key reason why we are confident Samphire is well positioned to become Australia's next uranium mine, and we're most advanced uranium development project in Australia as well at the moment. So we've worked hard also to secure a retention lease over the last 2.5 years to enable us to conduct our field recovery trial, and that is a significant milestone in its own right, which I'm very proud of. So from here, it's building on this and progressing through to the next stage, which is a mining lease.
Well, I look forward to catching up with you. I think at RIU in middle of February too. There's a small caps team. I'll be over there representing the small caps team. I look forward to following up then. But I'm also going to be following up over the next 6 to 12 months. What should investors be looking out for over the next half to year?
Yeah. So, we've been working hard over the last few years, and it's really about turning that hard work now into value outcomes at Samphire. Of course, progressing to de-risk that asset through the steps of the field recovery trial, as well as growing the resource. At Big Lake, again, focusing on following up those exciting results from our maiden discovery program. So news flow-wise, investors will start to see the first results from the field recovery trial coming through this quarter, resource estimate for Samphire in the next quarter. And throughout the year, we'll have results from our drilling campaigns, both at Samphire and Big Lake, as well as updates on our BFS and our mining lease permitting progress. So overall, shareholders, I think, could expect a year of focused on measurable milestones, technical validation, disciplined exploration, all which wrap up to advance our assets towards our development decisions and guide where we deploy our capital next.
Excellent. That's great. I do look forward to catching up with you in Fremantle in just a while. We'll see if we can follow this conversation up then. I think that we've learned a lot today. A lot of TLAs. We've had BFS. We've had ISR. We've talked about FRT, and we've also talked about NPV. Everyone's got a few 3-letter acronyms. There's 3 letters that people should remember, and that is AGE. So there you go. That's my job to do, Andrea.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Andrea Marsland-Smith of Alligator Energy. Thank you so much. We'll be watching closely.
Excellent. Thanks, James.
Not a problem at all. I am James Whelan, occasional talking head for smallcaps.com.au. Stay safe and all the best.